Hey there guys and gals, and welcome back to the D4A channel. Today we're talking about steering wheel play. The steering system of any car is a pretty simple thing. What you have is your steering wheel, which is connected to your steering shaft right here, which is then connected to your steering rack. When you turn your steering wheel, you turn the shaft, which turns the pinion inside the steering rack, which moves the rack left and right, which then moves your wheels and makes your car turn left or right, depending on where you want to go. Now, what is steering wheel play? Steering wheel play is a situation in which when you turn your steering wheel, it does not result in the appropriate amount of turning of your wheels. So what you actually have is a situation when you, like this, you for example move your steering wheel this much, but nothing's happening to the front wheels of your car. Now that can be a pretty annoying situation, and it's something that you should definitely get rid of, because if it exists in a certain amount that is big enough, if there's enough play, it can actually be a safety hazard, and it's also a pretty annoying thing whenever you drive. Now, how do you get rid of steering wheel play? Well, there are different places in your steering system that can be the cause of steering wheel play. Now, number one is your steering rack. If you want to see how to rebuild your steering rack and get rid of any potential, places that can be causing steering wheel play that stem from your steering rack, click on the video here in that corner, and that's going to be a little detailed video showing you how to do the rebuild. But today we are going to be tackling the steering shaft and the most common place that causes steering wheel play. The steering shaft in your car is actually not such a simple thing, and it has more tasks other than steering the wheels of your car. One of its other tasks is actually absorbing the vibrations picked up by your wheels and your steering rack. How does it absorb these vibrations? Of course, it uses rubber, like many other vibration absorbing components in your car. So how it works is, the lower part of your steering shaft is actually comprised of two parts, and they have rubber sandwiched between them. So as you can see here, this rubber, as time moves on, deteriorates, and that's what causes steering wheel play. As you can see here, the lower part is actually moving quite a bit independently from the upper part of the steering shaft. Now the problem is that to replace it, there is no replacement part for just this little tiny piece of rubber inside the shaft. And what you have to do is replace your entire steering shaft. What that is of course it's not cost effective, and when you have a 30-year-old car like my Toyota MR2, finding a good one in used condition is actually a very hard thing. So what's the solution? Now we have two solutions, and what some people do to eliminate steering wheel play when they have this deteriorated rubber is that they weld the two metal parts of the steering shaft together. Now this is a very permanent solution, but it's also an uncomfortable one, because you will now pick up all of the vibrations that your wheels and your steering rack experience, and it will not be as enjoyable and comfortable to drive your car on the street. If it's a track warrior, that of course is not such an issue. But if you have a car that you intend to drive, even sometimes on the street, it can actually be pretty nasty to drive it. So the solution is actually to replace the rubber inside the shaft, to renew the rubber, to put some new rubber in there. So how do we do that? Well, first what we are going to do is we are going to remove the lower part of the steering shaft. Now this is very easy if your rubber is sufficiently deteriorated, and all you have to do is pull it out, as you have just seen. Now once you pull it out, you will notice that at certain critical parts of this lower part of your steering shaft, the rubber has actually deteriorated so badly that now metal is touching metal. And it is this non-existence of the rubber in these critical places that results in very significant steering wheel play. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to clean up this lower part of the steering shaft using a wire wheel. And once that is clean, we are going to get some windshield adhesive. Now, what I have here is a windshield adhesive. Now, the internet actually most often mentions 3M window weld, and that is of course a good product, but I couldn't find one, readily available where I live, so I got this. It's the very same thing, just a different manufacturer. Now, the good thing about windshield adhesive is that once it cures, it's very durable and it's also very stiff, so it's the ideal candidate for the replacement rubber in our steering shaft. The bad thing about it is that it's very thick, it's very difficult to apply, and it's also very messy. So it ruined my gun the very second I tried to apply it using my gun. So what I resorted to is getting a long, thin piece of metal and getting a lot of the adhesive right out of the can, and then applying it inside the upper part of the steering shaft. Once I have applied a sufficient amount inside the steering shaft, I have taken my cleaned up lower part of the steering shaft and inserted it right into the steering shaft. In order to keep the lower part of the steering shaft from falling out while the windshield adhesive is curing, I have used some cable ties, as you can see here, to keep it in place. So once the windshield adhesive has cured inside of your steering shaft, you will notice that it's impossible to move the lower part of your steering shaft independently from the upper part. And this is exactly the result you want, because this means that you have managed to eliminate the source of your steering wheel play. So there you have it, a easy, quick, and definitely very cheap solution for a very common problem in the case of my Toyota MR2, but also in the case of many other cars from all makes and models. Now, if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, definitely do not forget to hit the like button. Also consider sharing it to your friends that might be experiencing steering wheel play so they can get rid of it. And also consider subscribing for more useful and I hope entertaining content just like this. Now, if you have any sort of question, the comment section, it's right down there and it's all yours, and I will try to answer any question to the best of my abilities. So I guess that's pretty much it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon on the D4A channel.